Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I have one of my favorite business brilliant people that I know on the line with me here today. And very excited. Last time Erin was on the show, we were talking about business and marketing, and we both geek out heavily on that. And we have both since, in the years since, geeked out on other kinds of passions that also feed into how we talk about business and marketing. And one of those things that Erin has mastered is human design and doing human design readings and teaching business and helping people grow their entrepreneurial ventures through the lens of their specific human design chart. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hang tight for just a second. We'll be back. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. Awesome. So Erin MacCoy is a human design and business coach dedicated to empowering heart-centered entrepreneurs and soulful seekers. With a decade of experience as a business and marketing consultant, Erin specializes in helping soulful people step confidently into their purpose and maximize their profitability and joy. She integrates human design, spiritual intention, and empathic guidance to create holistic strategies that align with her clients' highest selves. Erin's mission is to support women in manifesting their dreams, overcoming self-doubt, and building meaningful, successful businesses without burnout. Welcome back to the show, Erin.
Oh, Molly Mandelberg, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, so happy to have you here. So it's been a while since you've been on the show and things have changed. Will you tell us a little bit about how, first off, it's bold as hell to be an entrepreneur and to say, you know what, I'm adding something to my repertoire or I'm augmenting my existing niche to include more, to be different. Can you just talk a little bit about how that transition or that shift has gone for you?
That is such a great place to start. First of all, I think it's just bold to be an entrepreneur. I
Yeah.
mean, taking a flying leap into something that you're passionate about is one thing, and then to evolve with it is certainly its own, powerful journey, I would say. And for me, I started coaching entrepreneurs 12 years ago on marketing planning and strategy, as you mentioned in the intro. And it's really fulfilling. It was certainly very fulfilling to help them in that way, to create structure and put systems into place. And, with a career in marketing myself, it was a natural fit. However, before the pandemic and after the pandemic are two very different energetic times. And as we both know, things kind of I would say, crumbled or shattered during the pandemic. And the awakening really came into focus. The consciousness of the planet was raising. And I began to feel like it just wasn't enough anymore to do that one thing when I knew I had all these other aspects of my skill set and also my purpose that I felt needed to be heard. I wanted to own those things. And, did that kind of quietly on the sidelines before the pandemic. My spiritual journey is many years now. But then when the pandemic came, I got this opening that was like, hey, what if you abandon the this or that mentality and embrace the this and that? You can be this and that now. And I kept hearing that voice. I'd be meditating or I'd be in a sound bath. Those were always the two places that I would get the hit, and it would be like, Erin, come on, bring your purpose to your work. It's time to take it to the next level. And I think a lot of soulful entrepreneurs are being asked that. So for me, I was gifted a human design reading from a friend, and was overwhelmed at how robust it is and started to really chunk away at it for personal interest. And then I discovered that as I learned more about what they call the unique blueprint of human design, which is basically what makes you you, I was getting these affirmations about, wow, yeah, that needs to come up. That needs to come into the light. I want to shine more light on this. And it was about business and it was about helping others do the same. And so I just started to pepper my marketing consults with questions that were a little bit more on the personal side, and began to discover that so many of my clients were feeling so unsure about what to do that it would paralyze their business. And once they had the affirmation of their human design elements, they would be able to apply very easily the energy needed to have a positive ripple effect to reach more people and to also fulfill themselves. So that's when I started to think, there's something to this in business. And I did some certifications through HD school, which was fascinating, and got certified as I'm a level 3 reader right now. Technically, there's 4 levels in HD school, but there's a constant continuing education to human design, and everybody's blueprint is different. And it continues to just get me out of bed in the morning with renewed sense of purpose for myself and helping others realize that everything they need to build their business is within them. And we just need to unlock that or unleash it, you know?
Yeah, be
So that's a
willing to
little
be
bit,
aware of it.
that's my journey to this point, at least.
It's beautiful, and it's similar to mine when I was, spending a few years just talking about business, and then it was like this ache of I'm actually this mystical, magical person, and how can
Right.
I not bring that into the work that I'm doing? And then it was like, okay, well, how can I? How can I synthesize that into what I'm doing? And then so much more alignment with the clients who were wanting to enroll with, signing on to packages and courses with me, because it was like, okay, now we can talk about this stuff through the lens of deep, powerful magic, like
Mhm.
soulful, purpose-driven work. And yeah, that part of me wasn't being served by only talking exclusively about business. So I totally hear you and resonate with that. So for those of our listeners out there who maybe haven't heard of human design or have heard it and don't know what the heck it is, can you just give us a lay of the land of sort of what is human design and how do we learn more about it?
Yeah, I would first like to acknowledge that you are part of that journey of me coming into the space of integration of the soul, the self, the business, all of the pieces. And working with you in our last project together really showed me you just the way you show up really inspired me. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Um, you're a part of it, girl. So human design is a robust self-awareness system that combines ancient wisdom with modern science. And I like to say it's putting those two things in a blender, and spinning it up, and it creates this really unique perspective on who you are. So it takes elements of astrology, Kabbalah, the Chinese I Ching, the chakra system, and then, in a blender with, quantum physics and biodynamics, and essentially creates this storyboard, or a body graph is what they call it, that gives you insights into your unique gifts, your skills, your challenges, and certainly your purpose. And the thing that really attracts me to it are the core fundamentals of it, which is energy, how you interact with energy, what kind of energy you have, and certainly the how you make your decisions. It's a decision making tool, which I really like, and entrepreneurs definitely need a little bit of affirmation around how to make decisions, especially like, what do I spend my time on? I'm not sure. How do I make the decision about that? Human design can help do that. So it goes much deeper into the intricacies of your self-limiting beliefs, your identity. There's a huge aspect around intuition and inner knowing and things like that. So it's a self-awareness tool. It's sort of akin to if you were to do the Enneagram or something like that, like a test or an evaluation of how you might show up in honor of your natural given talents and skills and abilities. It's very cool. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
It's also really cool because it can point to things that maybe have not been embodied or have not been
Mm-hmm.
acknowledged, and so have been
Right.
lying sort of dormant, but that are innate natural tendencies or capacities or talents that we have, that it's crazy to think that some little chart or graph that you get off the internet could tell you more about you. Although, I
Totally.
mean, how many of us have taken personality tests looking for exactly that?
Or the Cosmo quiz, whatever the
Yeah,
Cosmo quiz is.
right.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I've gotten more deeply involved in it, I'm finding out that there are elements in your chart or your body graph that can really shine a light on what you need to leverage in terms of your, business growth, personal growth. There's also an element to understanding what you need to release and shed attachment to. And just literally, like you said, if you embody this particular aspect of your chart, you're going to manifest the abundance that you're craving. And I love that. I love that it's very specific around that. And it, as I said, it sets the table for conversations that I normally didn't have like 6, 7 years ago, even.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's really aligned with the times. People are more willing to go there. And I think business owners are exhausted and they want a fresh approach to building their business, and they look outside themselves constantly at what others are doing. And when they do that, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
They apply what they see going on. I'll try what she's doing or he's doing. No, what if you applied what you knew to be true?
Mm.
Especially for service providers, coaches, those kinds of folks. They really benefit from this kind of exploration and experimentation.
Absolutely. So I've noticed that some people feel really acknowledged and seen by their
Mm-hmm.
chart, and some
Mm-hmm.
people maybe receive it with a little bit more tension or resistance. Can you speak to that at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's absolutely true. I just did a presentation a couple of weeks ago to a group of business owners who have zero knowledge about human design. And so I had to look at this very question, which is it's important to come with a sense of curiosity, openness, and a desire to learn. You have to shed attachments to the idea of, it's wacky or woo or whatever. And what if it's a tool that really gives you the peace and ease that you're looking for? I have to say, there are a few clients who, in my world, have told me they're like, I don't believe in astrology. I don't believe in the chakra system. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. You don't have to believe anything. But again, staying open is such a big piece of it. And I'm at the point, and I know you are too, that we aren't going to waste our precious time on trying to bring someone along if they're not ready for it. Like you wish them well, you send them love, and you go, good luck. And if you want to revisit this, let's do it. And that's what I've done, especially with some of my more traditional client types. Most of them have come along though. It's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's also an element of that we, for whatever reason, for how we were raised, for
Sure.
who we decided we should be, for how we
Mm-hmm.
built ourselves into a persona or a mask or whatever, that
Mm-hmm.
we can get kind of attached to identity. And if we've
Yeah.
spent all these years, maybe a lifetime, building up the identity of who we think we should be and what we should be doing with our lives and all the shoulds and have tos and this is who I am and how I'm gonna be kind of things, that it can feel disjointed in some way to receive the information that, you're not quite lined up with your natural design, your
Mm-hmm.
tendencies, your most fully expressed potential, so to speak, that can feel crunchy, that can feel
Sure.
like being dismissed or being wrong in some way. And so I think there's something really beautiful about that reminder to be curious and be open to what's there. And you don't have to take anything on as being true for you or being necessary or relevant. But if you go into it with this open curiosity, it could be that there's a little door that wants to be unlocked in you, that
Mm-hmm.
something greater could come through, and that it doesn't have to disrupt your whole life or your whole business or your niche or whatever. I know niche can be really emotional for all of us, that it may not be a huge dramatic swing to acknowledge that new part of you or to
Mm-hmm.
be willing to be aware that it's in there, that it could be a
Mm-hmm.
small shift that suddenly things just flow better through you. Um,
Totally.
yeah.
That's so well said. And to take that a little bit further, this is an energetic blueprint. Everything is energy. We as business owners have energy, as humans, as souls, we have energy. Our businesses also have an energy, right? And so when I take people through a reading or a workshop or whatever, I talk a lot about you hear a lot of coaches say it, but I think it's so true, which is take what resonates with you and don't worry about the rest. If one little piece of this gives you a moment of, oh, that's interesting, or I'm curious about that, or whatever, that is a resonant energy that I think helps with understanding a little bit more about yourself. It's like, that's interesting. I relate to that, or I resonate with that. And I often say, how is this landing for you? What's coming up for you is part of that, but also how is it landing? What is coming through that feels like you? And what can you just go, you know what, I don't know about that for now, and just shelf that for now. It's fine.
Yeah.
If more people could be curious, open, and willing to learn about most things, I think that would change the world.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
absolutely would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also there's something to be said for the parts that hold big resistance, which
Mm-hmm.
is true with everything in life, not just with the human design reading that you might get. That
Right.
when there's something that's really irritating or frustrating, that there's usually something in there for you to learn or acknowledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, oftentimes that kind of irking sensation can be a sign of something wanting to come through or be discovered or chosen by us too.
Yeah. There's something to that too.
Yeah.
And I think you just hit it so well, which is when we get that irking feeling or that frustration or bitterness about something, that is actually part of your energetic exchange in human design. And it's an indicator that there's a misalignment somewhere along the way. And so they call that the not self of the human design system. And each person has sort of like this red flag that comes up around that kind of like resistance piece.
Yeah.
And for me, as I've practiced this myself, and I'm so passionate about it because I've seen what practicing understanding what frustration means to me is an opportunity for me to slow down and go, wait a second, I don't have to feel frustrated if I don't want to. What am I aiming for? So the great thing about human design too is it allows us to slow down and really take notice of what's going on in the body, which I love. I
Yeah.
love that piece too.
Yeah. I mean, you explained really beautifully how this awareness or this sort of unfolding of this new addition to your path has happened and how it's created more flow and magic in your own business. I'm curious if you could share some ways that you've seen human design sort of unlock things for other people.
Yeah. So a really great example is a generator client. So generators are one of the 5 energy types. There are 5 of them. I have a client, I've worked with her off and on for years. She's a generator. You're a generator too. So
I
perhaps
am.
you can relate. But we worked together. She was launching her business and she wasn't sure how to pull together, her marketing messaging. And she's a coach type facilitator. She wasn't sure how to pull together her offer. And she wanted to pull together this proposal for a potential client. And we spent a bunch of time looking at, well, where do you feel most lit up to spend your value? Where are you going to plug in and give your client the greatest benefits to working with you? And when she lit up with like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and we're going to work on this and this is what I'm going to put in the proposal, it formed itself for sure. She felt confident. That was another piece, is that everything that lit her up that we were able to articulate in the proposal went in. It was just mad, the crinkly, magical kind of vibe. It was lovely. But most importantly, she was able to pull together talking points based on what we were discovering in certain aspects of her chart about what her ideal clients' pain points were. They had had a consult and they had had time together, and he had just sort of unpacked everything his organization needed or whatever. And she was able to go into her own chart and pull out the bites and the bits that really she knew were going to solve his problem from what she could offer. It was so cool. And so when we put the proposal together, we also prepared her to present the proposal. And that we looked at her design and we looked at sort of what her brand vibe was going to be and created sort of a core values idea, like based on what was in her chart. And these were all things that really aligned for her. And we were able to pull phrases and words that she's like, this is what I stand for. And I'm like, yes, this is in your design. Of course. Yay. So she goes into the proposal and she was confident, she was clear, and she knew exactly how to approach him to win the gig. And it was a $32,000 project right out of the gate. And she's still working with this organization. It's a year later. And she's still working with them. And we meet every once in a while to kind of like go through her scope and make sure that she's not working on things that burn her out. Because as a generator, the minute you start doing things for others and not because it lights you up, it creates tremendous burnout. Generators burn out fast if they do things that aren't meaningful to them because they're so capable, like you, Molly Mandelberg. You can do many, many things, but as long as you're feeling fired up about what you're working on, then you are in alignment with your design. But if you're like, oh, I'll just do this for this person because I should or I can, it's actually out of alignment and it creates a fatigue. And what we're here to do is actually bring forth the fire as generators. We're supposed to light up the world with the good stuff. And so anyway, my client is still working with this organization. She's coaching the leader in the organization now. And every time they re-examine her scope, she's always adding one more thing that lights her up to it. And they're like, yes, because it's magnetic. And generators are very magnetic types. When they're in their zone of genius, they are bringing in people like crazy. And so that is the magic that kind of she's bringing forth. But she's also like, hey, you know, I'm going to tap into this generator energy and really listen to my gut response about what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's another way of approaching how you make decisions about what you want to do in your life, in your business. I love that.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I love the emphasis there on every time they reassess, she adds in one more thing that lights her up. It's like, I think there's a lie of consistency or some fallacy that we need to maintain or be the same or, you know, not shake the boat or whatever the case may be. And that, especially as a generator, that emphasis on what's going to feel good, what's going to bring me joy, because that is basically what we're here to deliver to other people.
Totally.
And if we can keep zeroing in and focusing on that, that is what fuels everything else. And I think that's somewhat why I preach how much energy impacts our marketing when I'm talking to my clients is like, you got to focus on at least some of what are you thinking about when you post that, or what do you actually believe is possible with this launch, or that is going to impact the outcome because it's just the way that energy functions. It wants to be, it's more magnetic when it's coming from a enthusiasm and joy place. Yeah.
Well, and you walk that talk. I mean, when I look at your marketing, I always can tell that you post from a place of genuine spark. Like you're responding to something that is coming to you that's giving you the inspiration to share your genius in a way that it brings people in. And that is like, I would say quintessential generator social media practice right there.
Thank
you
you.
Do a really great job of that. I'm always like, oh, what she got today? And I bet you a lot of other people say that too.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And yeah, I do. I find it's like yesterday, there was too much going on all day. It wasn't going to be a content day. There wasn't anything that was sparking to share. And so I didn't. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. You got to do it when the doing it is right.
Yeah. And I think that is you very much were in line because the kinds of advice or guidance from a human design standpoint on social media is never stick to a strict schedule. Like we can't do that anymore. It doesn't, if you aren't in tune with what's going on in your audiences or just energetically, if Mercury's in the microwave, as my friend says, then you may not feel aligned to share your message. And that's a smart thing to pay attention to. It doesn't matter what your energy type is. That social media needs to be a little bit more of an organic feeling thing now, which I actually really love.
I do too.
There's so much more juiciness in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have gone through phases in my business over the last 10 years where I've scheduled things out and I've batched content. And I still say, you know, that is a great system to get to if that's the only way you'll do it. But yeah, it doesn't have the same juice because it's not asking first, what does the world need from me and what do I want to bring forth?
Yeah. Great questions right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, who out there should be looking at this? I feel like everybody who's listening is probably already asking themselves, like, I wonder what my chart says about me or what my body graph has to say. And highly recommend Erin as a person, much less as a coach or facilitator. Definitely, if you're feeling the lean in, go to the show notes and get the link. We'll be giving you more info on that soon. But who's generally coming to you asking for this kind of stuff? Who's a good fit for it?
The majority of the people who come to me have in the entrepreneurial sphere are those who have, I'm air quoting, tried everything and nothing's happening. And they are frustrated or feeling disappointed in themselves in their business. And that is such a disconnective place to be. And what I want to do is reconnect them to the purpose for what they're here to do. And human design can show them that way, certainly. So, a lot of people who are at this crossroads in their business of like, should I close it down? Or I don't know where to start because nothing's been going on. And that's one sort of type. Another, I had a consult yesterday with someone who's doing too much to make it happen. They're doing all the things. They're looking outside themselves at all the stuff. Oh, they're doing this. I should do that too. And the shoulds come to me. I should do this. And I'm like, really? Should you? No. Let's take a look at your design. So the entrepreneurs are overwhelmed. They're freaked out because what they used to do doesn't work. And the service provider, coach, anybody who's like a personal brand builder comes to me and says, okay, I need to sort of re-examine who I am outside of what people think I am. So that's great for human design. As you said, projection is everywhere. A lot of people project who they think we are. So that's one thing. And then I get like soulful seeker types who are having an awakening. They're like, geez, I've been in this career for 20 years and I hate it. And I don't think I can do anything else. How do I reinvigorate my passions? So I get a lot of those folks too. And a lot of people who are at crossroads in relationships, career. Some of them are just sort of coming to the place of, wow, it's an intense time. What else can I do to take care of myself? I get self-care people, like human design kind of gives you a roadmap to taking better care of yourself too. So it's a multifaceted tool that can help in a variety of different areas in life in terms of, affirmations and empowerment. And I like the confidence aspect. Really crushes self-doubt when you know what you're designed to do. You feel a little bit more confidence moving forward. And then the results are great. Like I told you about that client. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, there's magic to be had when we are coming at life from a place of alignment. And I love that you mentioned that confidence piece. It's like, yeah, there's so much less to question about a big choice or a leap or a move forward when you know that there's some part of you that's designed for it, that's built to do that. Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, we're kind of wrapping up soon, but like, did you want to mention anything you saw on my chart? Just,
Oh, let me just pop over there for a sec. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so you are a 1-3 generator. And essentially, what that really means to me is that facts and figures and information really matter to you, but trial and error is also a part of who you are. So the fact that you are constantly evolving and trying things out and seeing how that feels is actually a huge part of your progression in your design. So you have a lot of opportunity as a 1-3 to gather what you, and this is so true for you, I'm sure all your listeners already know this, but like you research and you develop and you gather all the sort of educational aspects, and then you're like, I'm going to try to teach it to you this way, and then I'm going to try to teach it to you this way, and then we're going to try to do it this way, and each one of those has value. So I love that you are this multifaceted soulpreneur because you just have a number of different ways that you get people to raise their level too. That is kind of your jam. I also see here that you have in your identity center, which we're kind of going all over the map here, but in your identity center, you have a gate 1, which is the gate of like originality, self-expression. That is defined for you. And that means that being the most yourself you can be in this lifetime is part of your purpose. So that's a huge piece of the Molly Mandelberg brand is I need to be the most myself I can be, because that's how I'm gonna bring people in. What else do I see in here? And of course, you have one of my favorite entrepreneurial channels in here, which is 2644, which is all about sales and marketing. So some people, when they have that defined, are so naturally capable of marketing and sales that it's almost like second nature. And I'm not surprised to see that in your chart, given what you do and how you come about things. You've got an open throat, which means that you're able to communicate messages like you've done in this interview with me. You've taken my message and then reflected it out to the people using your voice. So you're very skilled copywriter, totally. People who have undefined throats can take the energetic communications of others and flip that into succinct, concise, clear. Whether you were in a past life, around the fire telling stories, you were very good at that. So there's plenty in here. We should do a
Yeah,
reading. I'd
yeah, we
totally
should
love to give
totally
you
do
a reading.
that.
Yeah. You've probably had a reading before, though, I think, haven't you?
I mean, just here and there, yeah, a couple
Oh,
times,
yeah.
but there's always something new. And I feel like as we grow and evolve, there's always a new part of you that maybe needs to be reminded.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you've had a human design reading in the past, like we are constantly evolving, and there's different parts of this massive graph of, 64 pieces of information plus 10 more plus
Mm-hmm.
5 more. There's such a depth to this kind of information
Mm-hmm.
from human design that as we grow and evolve, we're a different person who needs to hear a different part of it, or
Right.
remember or re-acknowledge a different part of it in ourselves. So thank you for
Totally.
that.
You're
I
welcome. You're
do
welcome.
I almost always feel so acknowledged when I get a human design reading, because I'm like, oh, this thing that I sort of discount
Mm,
is like, yeah, whatever, I can do that. It's like, no, that's something unique about you. That's
mm,
something that is part of your gift to bring
right.
to the world, and
Totally.
that not everybody has that, throat open or
Mm-hmm.
that one channel highlighted. Yeah. So it's
Well,
really
and
valuable.
the interesting thing to that is that there's one side that's about your like soul journey, and then there's this lifetime. And
Yeah.
when I'm working with entrepreneurs, we're often, I mean, we look at both, but I'm often so focused on what's going on in this lifetime, because there are aspects in there that have to do with like attracting abundance, money, clients, all the things. But to your point, it's like we evolve over time. So looking at the soul's journey is fascinating because it's so much bigger than just now. It gives you a little bit more spaciousness to consider what's possible and where your potential is.
Yeah. I love that. I almost laughed when you said something about me being the most of me, or the
The
most
most
me
you
that
can
I could.
be.
Yeah, I literally have a whiteboard next to me with some social media ideas that I haven't quite implemented yet. And one of them is I wouldn't be me if I didn't keep evolving. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's exactly what that felt like. The energy
Yes.
of that is the same. Like,
Oh
that's
my
just
God, I
who
love
I
it.
am, is I have to keep
Totally.
finding more of me and becoming it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, reaffirmed by seeing that's actually on a piece of paper somewhere that says this is how Molly operates. And it's like, okay, well, that gives you so much permission to just go and keep doing that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. If you want to jump into a real more in-depth reading, I think we should do that offline, because
Yeah.
there's plenty of other things I think we could dig into.
Absolutely. And I feel like people out there are probably biting at the bit to chomping at the bit, bursting at the seams to get information about how do we get on Erin MacCoy's schedule. So, what are the best ways to get in touch with you, to follow you, to get more information, and to book their first design reading?
Sure, sure. So going to my website, obviously, is lots of resources about how to get started with human design, certainly. You can also book a reading there, erinmccoycoaching.com. So I'm on Instagram as Erin MacCoy. I'm on Facebook as Erin MacCoy Coaching, and email's great. DM me, whatever it might be. Questions are always welcome because it's such a robust system. It often takes, like I said, bite the elephant one bite at a time. Start your journey as you feel it's right for you. If you're a 1-3 like you probably would have read everything you could on human design and
Got
like
all the
listened
books.
to all the podcasts or whatever. Like, got to get that in there, because I often say 1-3s are also the Googlers. They Google everything. It's like, I need to know, I need to know, I need to know. So anyway, back to me. I welcome conversation, questions, readings, whatever. Be wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Yeah, thank you. And for anyone out there who's just listening and maybe driving, it's Erin, Erin MacCoy, MacCoy, coaching.com.
That's right.
So we'll put that in the show notes for you. And if you enjoyed this episode, or if you have a friend who's an entrepreneur, or maybe you have a friend who's a mystical, magical dreamer wishing they could be an entrepreneur, forward this episode to them. Share the magic of whatever you received here. And as always, we're so grateful for podcast listeners. Thank you for being a part of this experience for us and giving us a reason to keep making shows like this. And thank you, Erin, so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Molly. It's so wonderful to hang out with you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Any last words of wisdom you want to leave people with?
The mantra of human design for me is just because you can doesn't mean you should. I'll leave it there. I love
that. That's beautiful. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Whatever happens, keep asking big questions and taking bold action because you are here for a reason. We'll see you next time.